information on the dots, we're gonna jump in and start sewing this dot right now. So we're gonna do the, doesn't really matter, we're gonna do the closed dot first real quick. Check if we are still recording. Yeah, we are. Let's rock and roll. Cool. So the first thing you want to do is, remember we're still sewing on the wrong side of the fabric. So I hope you guys have copied those lines onto your fabric so it makes it much easier to sew the dot. If you don't have those lines, just jump onto your fabric real quick and draw those lines in. You want to have something that looks similar to this, yeah? You want to have 3 lines, 1 in the middle and 2 on the sides, yeah? So after you have those lines, you want to jump over to the iron and then just fold your fabric like that in the middle line there, and then you want to just nicely or neatly press onto the fabric so it's flat, so that we can have a crease line in the middle there, so that we can have this edge to follow, because we need to start the dot right up top there all the way to the bottom. Cool. So that's going to be our first step. Jumped on the iron flat, and then we're going to start sewing the dot. Cool. Again, we lift our foot. We want to lower the foot onto the fabric, and then we want to load the needle right on the edge of the fabric again, like we always would start the seam, right on the edge of the fabric. There we go. Once the needle's in the fabric, we're going to do a back tack stitch again. 3 to the front, 1, 2, 3. Press the back tack lever on that side of your machine, I think, for those that's using a domestic machine. 1, 2, 3. Release the back tack lever, and now you continue that stitch. And the cool thing about this is you have a guideline to sew, so you want to sew on the line, not on the side, the left side or the right side of the line. You want to sew right in the middle of the line, yeah? And go all the way to the edge. So the tricky bit with this dot is, not a lot of people know this, when you start sewing a dot right at the edge here, you actually want to sew off the fabric for like 2 millimeters past the point. So say if that is our end point of our dot, right? We want to actually go 2 millimeters beyond that off the fabric so that we can secure the bust point. So let's suppose that this was on the bust line of your garment, right? You want to actually sew off the point so that it doesn't make a little pleat at the bust point. I'll show you guys what I mean once we start sewing this at the end. So continue all the way to the edge. So right now I'm on the point where I need to stop, right? But you don't want to stop your machine just yet. So after you stop right on the edge there, you want to go like 2 more stitches beyond the point. 1, 2. And now the needle is kind of off the fabric, and that's what you actually want to do. Once you're off the fabric, now we're going to do the reverse tack lever. So go to your reverse lever, press it, and we're going to go 3 to the back. 1, 2, 3. Release. 1, 2, 3. And then of course you lift your needle to the highest point again with your wheel. Lift up your foot and slip the fabric out. There we go. That is right on the edge, basically off the fabric and then back onto the fabric. Let's check if we're still recording. There we go, guys. So you see right off the fabric. So now we've completed. You see how neat that is? We sewn on one side of the line and then we automatically caught the other side. Perfect, yeah? So once we are done with that, I'm going to cut off your raw edges of your threads, and there we go. When we open it, this is the right side of the fabric, that's the wrong side. So now we're going to jump over to the iron real quick, press this flat. I'll show you guys the trick how to iron them flat, and then we will talk again. Cool. So that's the closed dot. Let's go over to the irons real quick, yeah? Alright everybody, so we're going to be ironing this dot real quick. And whenever you're making a little skirt, right, you need to actually decide as the designer which way to iron this dot, because you can either iron it to the left side or to the right side. So let's suppose if you had a zip in the middle here, so let's say this was your middle point and you had a zip here, right, and this is your side seam of your body. Most often cases the dot gets ironed towards the side seam of the body, yeah? So you can either iron it towards the side seam of the body, or you can iron it towards the zip. But let's say you are ironing the left side of your body, yeah? You actually want to have both darts facing either towards the zip or away from the zip, yeah, as the designer. So in our case, we're going to iron our dart facing the side seam. So on that side is our side seam, yeah? So we're going to just grab the iron real quick. We're just going to lightly iron them like that, without steaming, just lightly. And now, because we are ironing a curve area or something that has shape, let's check if we're recording or am I in the video? Yeah, there we go. So whenever we're ironing anything that has shape, we need to make use of what is called the tailor's ham. These little guys that looks like cushions, yeah? That will allow us to actually now put the fabric on the curved area like that. So which means, because we are dealing with a dart, we actually need to give him some shape so that we can place it there and then iron the fabric, yeah? And that's what we want to do real quick. So I'll place it like that on the wrong side so you guys can see where the dart is. And then we're going to grab our iron. And now we're going to iron according the shape that we're ironing on, yeah? We're going to iron it lightly first so that we can have a crease line. There we go. Now that we have achieved the crease line that we want, now we're going to place the dart like that. Let's check if we're still in video. Yeah, place it like that. And now we're going to press it a little bit harder and steam a bit more on the right side of the fabric. And our focus point right now is, if I can go closer, is this point here. Remember, we've sewn the dart from the beginning here, from the edge of the fabric all the way to the middle point. And let's suppose that that was a bust line, yeah, the bust area. So which means if we don't iron that area properly, it will create a little pleat, and we don't want pleats in there. So how to get rid of that pleat? First, we already did a good job sewing off the fabric here when we sewed the dart. So that is one problem solved. So now the next one is actually now to use your iron and then just slightly steam on that point there. And there we go, problem solved. To eliminate any creases or pleats that might, just checking if we're still recording, yeah, that might have formed in that area there. And there we go. Let's remove the cushions. Show you guys we are actually dealing with a shape area. You see how the fabric is going from this point upwards like that? It's making a little curve here. Because if this was like the bust area, it would allow some room for the bust to be in that particular area. As you can see, the fabric is not laying flat on the little ironing board, it's actually curved up like that. And that's what the purpose of a dart is here.